What's going on, everyone? Welcome in. This is Cadman Cycling, back for Tour de Zwift. This is still stage one, the category A ride. Longer ride takes us 2 laps around the RGV route in France for a total distance of 49 kilometers and 214 meters of elevation gain. I've already completed the other 2 routes. Both were shorter. Kind of decided to save this one for last. Wasn't sure if I was actually going to complete it. But here we are. It'll be my 3rd day in a row racing. I did the middle distance first, then I did the short ride yesterday. Gonna try this long ride today. I think this is the longest ride I've ever done on Zwift. I haven't actually confirmed that. I just can't remember doing a longer one. The full route is 49 kilometers. I'll make sure to put in the extra kilometer at the end to hit that even 50. Pretty large group today. Not quite as big as we saw in the first couple days of Tour de Zwift, and it'll definitely get pretty spread out along this long route. So going into it, knowing that I've been riding the last couple days and maybe my legs aren't quite as fresh after those rides, and also knowing that this is one of the longest rides I've done, I make sure to kind of take it easy at the start. I want to sit somewhere between around 2.5 to 2.8 watts per kilograms. So I'm 74 kilograms as a rider, rounded up to 75. That means 2 watts per kilogram is about 150 watts. 3 watts per kilogram puts me around 225. So kind of during this first lap and even during this lead in here that we're still on, my overall goal is kind of just find that rhythm around 200 watts. If I can maintain 200 watts, that's around the 2.6, 2.7 watts per kilogram that I think I can maintain for the majority of this ride. Just kind of see where that puts me at the end of the first lap, and then based on how I feel, we'll kind of work from there. So large group, it takes a while to really kind of bunch up. Looking at the mini map on the top right, it's very strung out, so we'll go ahead and actually skip forward to the point where we do bunch up. So yeah, here we are 5 kilometers in. Like I said, we're doing 2 laps around this route. It's kind of an interesting route. The first 13.5K are extremely flat, like no hills at all. So have a nice bunch here that's moving pretty quickly, sitting around 180th place, but find that they're moving kind of at exactly the same speed or power output that I was looking to hold. So worked out perfectly. A lot of riders in this group. Still on this very flat section. So the second half of this route, or last third, is where a lot of the elevation comes in. There's 1 KOM climb that isn't too long, but enough to kind of get you up out of the saddle and put in an effort. And then it ends in a lot of rollers. So goal now is just to kind of stay in the middle of this pack, save as much energy as I can, knowing we're still very early on in this ride. Anytime my heart rate's in the 160s, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I don't spend a lot of time there, especially in the shorter races where I'm pushing harder. So feel all right, still just getting settled in. We'll try to continue to work with this group. It's really nice. It started pretty strung out, but this is a very large group to work with, so we'll see how it goes. And with that, we'll actually skip forward. So here we are, 13.3 kilometers in, just starting this KOM that I mentioned. So it's a left-hand turn, then up the hill, and then a right-hand turn to the finish. The group I'm in starts to get a little strung out. We see a lot of people dropping their feather power-ups if they have them. I don't believe I got a power-up this lap, so we'll see what I get through the banner. Again, still pretty early on, so I don't want to push too hard. I just want to put out the power output that keeps me in the center of this group as best as possible. And the heart rate is starting to get a little bit elevated. So now at 175 beats per minute, starting to push a little harder. With such a large group though, we really stayed together pretty well. So I find myself right in the middle here, just gonna continue to put in some power over the top to make sure that once we hit this downhill, I'm able to stay with this front group. But really, that's the main effort in the first lap. At the end of the lap, there are some rollers. So really, the first half of this route is just kind of take it easy, coast, try to save your energy as much as possible. And then the second half is where you put in the effort. So my goal here is put in enough effort to stay with the group. But again, knowing there's a full lap left after this. So we'll go ahead and skip forward again. This is the end of the first lap. So we're now almost 25 kilometers in, about 24 left to go. Just about to cross through the finish line. So each of these stages of Tour de Zwift last 4 days. So I rode this on the third day of stage 1. I'll post the video on the last day of stage 1. Getting ready for stage 2. I think stage 2 already has an Alp climb in it. Out of 8 stages of Tour de Zwift, they really got to that pretty quickly. That's going to be a daunting ride for sure. All right, so much further on in the race now, 37.3 kilometers. Again, starting to approach this aqueduct climb again. So kind of interesting that after lap 1, the end of this aqueduct climb is kind of where the power started to get a little bit elevated. I was pretty successful in keeping it around 200 watts for the first 13K, but the second half of the first lap started to push a little harder, closer to 3 watts per kilogram for me. But then once we did cross that finish line for the first lap, did have some recovery time. So it was a little bit faster than lap 1, but was able to recover a little bit before we got to this climb. I do push it a little harder this time on the climb, just because I know we're getting close to only 10 kilometers left. It's going to be a tougher finish. I think I'm going to have to start putting out a bit more effort as this group's going to start moving faster. Kind of interesting though, I think I got really lucky finding this group. We really stayed together basically the entire race. From the point we kind of merged into each other maybe 3 or 4 kilometers into the ride. Picked up some riders along the way. Never really got caught from a group behind us. Never really caught a large group in front of us. It was just kind of 2 or 3 riders at a time. But it seems like we were all pretty equally abled riders and really looking to put out pretty similar powers, which helped me a lot. I was able to remain pretty consistent throughout this ride. So with that being said, skipping forward to the last mile now, my heart rate's high, 189, so definitely been pushing. We're going through this last roller section. The last 5 or 6K have all been rollers. Again, not a crazy amount of elevation gain, but when you're going up and down over these rollers, there's not a whole lot of time to kind of sit back and regain energy. Definitely no descents that are long enough to super tuck on or stop pedaling, so it's really all gas for the majority of it. So heart rate over 190 now. This late in the ride at 48K now, I'm definitely starting to feel it in the legs. They've been doing a lot of work throughout this ride, starting to get a bit strung out here. And I know this is kind of dangerous territory. We're now under 1 kilometer to go. There's still a little bit of uphill left, I believe, but here putting in almost 300 watts for a little bit. Hurt the legs though, so I had to dial it back. And actually this is a downhill. We're going down now. So again, very strung out, but I realize that this group in front is going to start moving much faster than me, so I have to put in the watts now if I want to catch them. At 0.4 kilometers, this is really where I could start a sprint, but I really don't have much in the legs left, but some other riders are starting a sprint, so I stood up on the pedals momentarily, sat back down to try to recover a little bit, and then stood back up around 150 meters. Really just laid it all out on the line. It wasn't a whole lot. It was really the legs here that were holding me back. But with that being said, crossed the finish line, finishing 49 kilometers, an hour, 11 minutes, average of 212 watts. So like I said, I was trying to stick around 200, felt all right kind of during that second lap to push it a little bit harder. So I was pretty happy with that finish overall. Here's the Zwift Power standings. It's been a tough 3 days, so I'll take a day off tomorrow, and then we'll be starting stage 2, so we'll see what that has to offer. I go ahead and continue pedaling here, eventually just closing out the ride to 50K. So guys, thanks for being here. Really appreciate you watching this video. Hope you've had the opportunity to do some of these Tour de Zwift rides, and maybe I'll see you on a future ride, a future stage. So thanks for being here, and until next time, this is Cadman Cycling. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.